Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Whatever the F I Want podcast, where I, your host, Gaby, get to talk about whatever the F I want. And I have missed you all so much. I have so many life updates, so stay tuned. Alrighty, so I know it's been so long since I've posted an episode. So many things have happened. I basically had footage that I couldn't use when I had guests, and one thing or another happened. So I don't want to just come up on here with a bunch of excuses, but I have so many freaking ideas of podcast episodes and just like of what to talk about. I mean, the list is insanely long, but especially recently, I just feel like I've learned an incredible amount about myself, and I just feel like the knowledge is worth passing on. So here I am. I'm showing up regardless. Recently, I've realized how important it is to nurture your gift. I feel like the more that I've realized what my gifts are, it's really important that like I nurture them, not just for my soul's evolution, you know, like that's the point of being here on earth, is to allow for your soul to evolve. But I think another part of it is to live within your gifts. So I read The Alchemist, and I'm currently listening to an audiobook that has an insanely long title. I'll read it for you. It's called A Happy Pocket Full of Money, Your Quantum Leap into the Understanding, Having, and Enjoying of Immense Wealth and Happiness. This was a book that Dochi recommended, and ever since The Artist Way changed my life, I kind of just listen to whatever Dochi says. I will read it. I will listen to it. This is the second book off of the list that she's kind of shared. And I feel like it's really given me a big understanding on just like life itself. They kind of just like spew out a bunch of random facts, and you just kind of like, it's just reworded in different ways till it can just be like reiterated and drilled into your brain. But essentially what the book talks about is like, you cannot experience wealth without first experiencing it internally. And I started really thinking about that. Like today, I'm like, bitch, I am so fucking rich. Like I literally have a roof over my head. I get to pay for my rent far in advance. I have all my bills paid for. I have friends. I have a community of people who love me and who show up for me. Even today, one of my friends was like, can I give you a hug? And, he's not super affectionate. And I was like, yeah. He's like, I just really wanted to hug you the other day. We had a really good conversation. And, I'm not much of a hugger, but I just wanted to ask. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm so glad that you were able to take away something from that conversation. Like, I love being around you. Like, and then we had like a really nice hug, and it was just so nice to be able to like share that moment with somebody. And it just reminded me of just how loved I am. And so I literally was like so emotional leaving work, and I'm just like, I am so fucking rich. Like I have so much. And I think we oftentimes, the majority of people, associate wealth with having everything, right? But there's so many people who are like rich monetarily, and they don't have friends that are sincere. They don't have family who gives a shit about them. They don't have people who are like their ride or dies, and they don't have hobbies or fulfillment from a lot of things. That's not to say that I understand that like being wealthy financially can bring a lot of things that can make people happy, especially like when it comes to like financial security. However, like I remember my ex's mom, she would say all the time, like, somos pobres, pero comemos bien ricos. And I was like, bitch, what do you mean you're poor? You have, and I mean, obviously I didn't tell her, but I would say out loud, though, I wouldn't say bitch, but I'd be like, what do you mean you are rich? Like you have your table full of kids, your family, and you get to cook for them, and cooking is something that you love. And it's not like we were eating hot dogs every day. We were eating like arrachera. We were eating, she would make seafood boils. Like we were still eating fucking good, but I think so many times we just think about like, we hold money and all of these other things above us and outside of us, when it's all within you. The happiness that you're trying to find is within you. The things that you are trying to avoid, if you just faced them, then you'd be able to experience so much more joy in your life, right? So many people like use things to escape. And why are you trying to escape? What is so shitty about your life and your childhood that you are trying to run away from it? And once you face your shadow self, once you face that side of you, you start to realize like, first of all, you need to give yourself more grace. because you start to blame yourself for things, right? You're like, it's my fault that this happened, and why didn't my mom love me more? Or like, well, why is my, sister treated better than I am, or like, you just start to just compare yourself to all these people. And the biggest thing to understand is that you, in a lot of ways, you are so different and you are an individual. And I do want for everybody to understand that, like, yes, there are so many freaking singers in this world, but I know that my voice is just as important and my voice matters. And that's why I'm pursuing this, because somebody out there is going to be inspired by me. Yes, there's other podcasts, but I know that this podcast is going to find the right people. It's about understanding that, like, your tribe will always find you, and to understand that you deserve to take up space. But another thing is to understand that we are no different. I am no different than any other human on this earth. I am no different than any other celebrity on this earth. I am no different than any animal on this earth. We are all one. And so I think a lot of times, like, as humans, we also think that we're better than other people. And I was even thinking about that in terms of like money, like, oh, people, like when some people experience wealth, like financially, they start to think that they're better than all the other people around them. And it's like, no, you're fucking not. You are not better than anybody else. And I was talking to my friend Andrew about this, is like, we were talking about how like money changes people, right? I'm trying to like really understand like my perception of money and, what blockages do I have, just trying to really get to the root of just everything about myself. And I feel like my money blockages are like one of the last things that like I've kind of like needed to like work through. And I was thinking about it yesterday, and it was like, oh, well, I have this idea that like money changes people. And because I have certain people in my life that I just feel like I've heard, like, oh, money changed them. And they only want to be with people whenever they're up. People only want to be with you whenever you're up. Like, these are things that I've heard, and also some things that I found myself saying, because like I've noticed that the more I've elevated my life, the more people have dropped, right? But I think a big thing is I've heard this and it finally fucking clicked. Money amplifies who you already are. If you are a kind, caring, giving person, you're going to be that whether you're financially poor or you're financially rich. If you are a fucking asshole, you are an asshole regardless of how much money's in your fucking bank account. And I feel like once that finally clicked for me, it's like, oh, I can be a good person with or without money, but the biggest thing is, who are you today? Right? Who are you showing up as today? You might have $15 to your name, right? Are you sharing those $15 with anybody else, or are you thinking scarcity? $15 is all I'm going to have. I have to make it work. I can't share. This is mine. I can't share. So then why would God give you $100,000 if you have that I can't share, this is all mine mentality? Why is God going to give you more when you don't even want to fucking share what you have, whenever the universe is trying to show you that if you don't fucking share now, you're not going to share as a person. I remember I dated somebody, all he really would make with PB&Js. And he would have like PB&Js. This was his diet. Gross. PB&Js, Doritos, and a glass of milk. We were hanging out and I was like, can I have a bite of your PB&J? And he said, no, you can't. And I was like, no. Like, I actually thought he was joking. He's like, no. Why would I give you a piece of my PB&J? Like, this is for me. I made it for me. I was like, oh, okay. So then I got up and I made myself one. And he wasn't an only child, but in a lot of ways he was like raised as an only child. And I did not know like that the concept of sharing like just didn't exist in some people's minds. Because I grew up with siblings and all we ever did was fucking share. We'd get a Coke from McDonald's and we would have to like all fucking share the soda. We'd get fries and we'd all share the fries. My entire life was sharing. I shared a room with my sister for so many years of my life. It wasn't until I was like 15, 16 years old, maybe like 15 years old, where I finally got a room to myself. Like, I didn't have privacy for the majority of my life, and I didn't know what it was like to have not shared. I mean, at some point, my sister and I shared a room with my grandparents. Like, all I've ever done is fucking share. You can't fucking share a bite of your sandwich. Here I am fucking sharing my whole life with somebody. Like, I don't get it, right? So I really have started like to put myself in other people's shoes and I've been really just trying to understand like why my brain thinks a certain way and trying to decide for myself, why do I believe that? Do I want to believe this or do I want to rewrite it? And I talk about subliminals all the time, but I highly, highly, highly recommend subliminals. They're like frequency sounds, basically with affirmations underneath. And it's just a way to like hit your subconscious mind. And I listen to them whenever I sleep. I sometimes listen to them on my way to work. Sometimes I listen to them while I'm at work. It just really depends on if I feel like I need, sometimes it's just like very calming to just listen to, because sometimes it's like wave sounds or rain sounds. And, it can just be really calming to hear. So sometimes I just play them like just to listen to them. But sometimes I do it whenever I just feel so anxious. Like, what do I feel like I need to work on? So sometimes it was like your self fucking concept. Like, okay, so what? This person isn't texting you back. Play a fucking self concept subliminal. Remember who the fuck you are. Because like, why am I over here? Like, why didn't you text me back? Like, why would I care? So I've been like really trying to step into like this version of me that just really doesn't give a fuck. Like, I know that sometimes some people like perceive me, like one of my friends that I met through Twitch, he was like, Gaby, you just seem to have your life together. And I'm like, I really don't have my life together. I love that I'm perceived that way. Like, that's really cool, I guess. But like, I want you to know that I don't fucking have my life together. And I told him that. I said, I don't have my life together. And I said, and I'm just like any other human, just like you. And I just want for everybody to know and to understand that like I truly am no different than every single fucking one of you. I literally am on my period. Like a lot of women experience their periods, and I'm a human and I experience my period too. I wake up and sometimes I am overthinking, or I, get in my head about like I'm not at where I want to be. And that's why I've been really just trying to like focus on my mentality, because it's like it's all in here, right? The mind is so powerful, and it's like, how can I make my mind work in my favor? And that's what I've been like trying to do. Like I've been journaling, I've been drawing more, I've been doing what I can to stay off of social media. Some days are easier than others, but I've been trying to do what I can to just kind of like stay with it, because it's whenever I find myself like, oh, I haven't manifested in a while, or, I'm just like living life. It's like trying to find that balance of like living in the present, but also understanding that like it can also be so much better if you just allow it to be better. Like today, the friend I was mentioning earlier, he's like, hey, can I buy you something from Starbucks? And I was like, like, sure. Like, why not? And it's like, okay, the universe tries to give you little blessings, but you don't take them. So like, why are they going to keep offering you when you don't take them? So, right. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take. And so we got Frappuccinos, whatever. But also like yesterday when I was on the train, sorry, it wasn't yesterday. It was a couple of days ago. I went to hang out with a friend, and a guy getting off the train, he was like, I like your butterfly tattoo. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. And we just had like a conversation about tattoos while we just got out of the train station or whatever. And he's like, have a good day. I'm like, thanks, you too. And it's like, if I were to just fucking ignore everybody who tries to have a conversation with me, and like, I'm not saying that like, yeah, there aren't people who are like, hey, can I have your number or whatever. I mean, obviously we know that there's some people who like do maybe have like deeper intentions of like wanting to get to know you. But like even today, like I was crossing the street, and then this guy is like, he's a UPS guy. He's like, hey, how you doing? I was like, hey, I'm doing great. How are you doing? He's like, I'm doing good. And it's like small interactions like that can just be so kind and so simple, but you just put on your headphones and just like ignore people and like tunnel vision, because you're just trying to avoid human interaction. And it's like, it's human interaction that is going to heal the earth and heal our relationships with one another. So like lean into that. And I've been trying to just like lean more into the silliness, the fun, the whimsy of life, because it's that truly keeps you going and helps you understand life at its core is meant to be that. Life is not meant to be filled with all this stress that we as humans decided like, okay, we'll just take it on. Even the concept of like, you have to work hard to make money, like is so fake. It's very unfortunate, but the hardest working people tend to be the poorest, like financially. These are people that are working in the fields, are working construction jobs, are putting such a toll on their body, and are not reaping the benefits that somebody else could, and work a lot less, but still make a lot more. Like I know so many people who are like, I don't even know what I do at my job. I make $80K and I sit at a desk and I don't even know what I do for a living. And I'm like, I love that for you. And so we just have this idea of like, you have to work hard for things. And it's like, no, the fuck you don't. You don't have to work hard for things. And if that fucking triggers you, that's something you have to worry about and think about. Because I didn't really realize that like a lot of things that like people would say, I'm like, you just don't get it. You don't get it. It doesn't happen for people like me. It can't, and it doesn't work that way, and blah, 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 blah. And I would be like fucking triggered. And it's like, well, you said something and I don't That's just not my thought process, and that's not my belief. And the more and more that I've realized, like, so many beliefs were put on me that I didn't get to develop for myself, and I want to reframe them. And it's like, bro, you can just fucking reframe, rewire your brain and make things just think differently. I have a coworker who's like, oh, I always get jobs in August. Like, for some reason, like, I'm always just able to find jobs in August. And that's her belief, right? So yeah, it's going to come easy to manifest a job for her come August because that's her belief, right? She's confident in it. I was just watching an episode of Friends Keep Secrets, which is Lil Dicky's multimedia platform podcast. It's incredible. I love watching it. It brings me so much serotonin. But there's this episode of Blake Griffin, and he was like talking about how whenever he, throw a 3-pointer or just shoot, like, what would go on in your head? And he's like, honestly, it was always like, what if I make it? It wasn't what if I don't? What if I miss? His thought process was optimism. And I feel like my family, for the most part, is very optimistic, but I think the level of optimism that I have now is unbreakable, unshakable, and I love this version of myself. And it's been so cool to see that, like, recently I've had so many people tell me, like, Gaby, you have such a glow about you. There's something different. Like, has anything changed? And yeah, a lot has changed. I just feel so much more confident in myself as a person. And I just feel like I've done so much work to know and to understand myself. And I think that that is the biggest blessing that you could ever have. I think so many people walk around life with other people's programs running on them on autopilot, and they don't think at all for themselves. It's just like, no, I can't open up a business. My mom told me when I was 15 that I had to fucking go to school and do this and do that. And yeah, that was the case for me with a lot of things. My parents only having one perception or one way of things. And I'm like, I'm over it. And you can just decide, it's right, it's a law of assumption. You can just decide that something is true or not true. Now, is it easy? I mean, at least for me, it wasn't to just like assume that like things could just be a certain way just because it fucking is. I have had to grow into that thought process, right? Like, it is because I say it is. And which is funny because like now thinking about it, that's what my parents would tell me all the time, like, because I said so, right? Like, it's, I say this and this is how it goes. That I didn't get to form a lot of thought processes or ideas on my own because it was just like whatever my parents say and whatever they say goes. I didn't have a sense of self or a sense of identity with like, who is Gaby? Who does Gaby want to be? Because it was always like, no, you can't. You should think like this, and you should do this, and you should, you know what? And I mean, I remember being told all the time, like, oh, Gaby, you should be a lawyer by my parents. Oh, you should be a lawyer because you're just great at arguing. You love to argue. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't love me a little argument, because I do love a little debate, right? Okay, so maybe let's reframe that. Instead of argument, I love a debate. I love a debate. I love to hear somebody else's thought process. I love to understand how somebody else's mind thinks, or at least like gain perspective. And I might not agree, but I mean, I think gaining perspective is so fun, right? Like, why do you feel that way, you know? And what's your logic behind it? I do love learning, and so learning people's perspectives can help fill my cup in that way, right? But I think it's just so important to understand that you can rewrite everything. And also on here, it's so true, but you need to let yourself play on the playground. Let's just think about it, right? We're all just like giant babies. We're all just like giant kids, right? It's everybody's first time on this planet that we know of. Or maybe we are reincarnated. And maybe this is my 500 billionth time on Earth, and I was a mermaid in every lifetime except for this one. Or maybe I am a mermaid. You'll never know. So it's important to just allow yourself to play, because life is simply a playground. Why are you depriving yourself from the things that bring you joy, from sewing, from crocheting, from gardening, from cooking, from whatever it is that brings you joy? Why are you holding yourself back and not allowing yourself to experience this joy simply because I don't have time? Bitch, yes, you do the fuck have time. Yes, the fuck you do have time. I'm so sick and tired of people saying, I do not have time. You have time for the things that you care about, for the things that you want. You have time to binge watch all those episodes of Love Island, but you can't sit here and have time to go to a little Pilates class, and you've always wanted to do Pilates. Like, I'm so tired of excuses, and I've given myself so many excuses. I've given this world so many excuses, and I'm so tired of standing in my own way, because that's simply all that it is you just standing in your own fucking way from being able to achieve and to have the things that you want, simply because you do not think that you can have them, because you think it's not possible for people like you. Whenever I am like you, Beyonce and I are really not that different, right? Yeah, we might have had different upbringings. Yeah, we were raised by different people, whatever, all these circumstances. But at the end of the day, she is a skeleton and I am too. There's, this concept, and it's so true, but it's like, what are we without our soul? We're just bodies, right? And so Beyonce at her very core is this soul, right? The soul that has this passion for music and artistry and all these things. And it's so cool because I have that too. So it's like, low-key, like Beyonce and I, according to the universe, are like besties, right? Because her and I have this like thing in common, right? And I think we need to realize that like the people that you idolize, the people that you look up to, instead of looking at them as away from you, look at them as an extension of you. These people are extensions of me. So that's why there's no fucking competition, because it's like Lish, the girl that I've interviewed who has her sewing business, right? She's a fashion designer. She has collaborated with other fashion designers, and even for like Miami Swim Week and all the things. Super proud of her. Congratulations, girl. You keep on doing your thing. Instead of seeing people, other fashion designers, as her competition, by leaning into collaboration, that's where the fuck everything happens. Because it's like understanding that things are outside of you, that there is no competition. Why would there be competition? Because the people who resonate with me are going to resonate with her. And the people who are going to resonate with her are going to resonate with this other person. And they can decide if they do or do not want to resonate with somebody. But it's like, nobody listens to just one fucking artist. Nobody just owns one type of brand of clothes. Nobody just has one social media app. You know what I mean? Like, obviously it's a very extreme statement, but what I'm getting at is there's so many, like, a flower doesn't look at another flower and go, bitch, I wish I looked the fuck like that flower. No, a flower's just like, damn, she's so pretty. And the other flower's looking at you like, damn, she's so pretty. And it's like, why the fuck can we all not just be beautiful flowers, and then you put us all together and we're a fucking bouquet? Okay? So you are a flower. Why are you looking at yourself as this fucking gremlin? How are you supposed to fall in love with yourself if you're a fucking gremlin? Be the flower. Be whatever it is that makes you feel confident. And how do you step into that? How do you step into your confidence? How do you fucking treat yourself? So this guy made a video about how, like, well, everybody who litters, right? Littering is already like, okay, why the fuck are you destroying the planet? It's already just like such an icky thing to be just throwing something, right? Throwing something out of your car or whatever. But people who litter are littering junk food, right? And so it's like, well, how can you expect for somebody to care about the planet when they don't give a fuck about themselves? And it's like, okay, let's take a look at ourselves, right? How can we learn to love ourselves? Because people think plastic surgery and all these things, maybe it will help somebody in some ways learn to love themselves. But at the very core, that insecurity will still exist because it was never about that in the first place. I did not give a fuck about my nose growing up. I did not give a fuck about my skin. I did not give a fuck about anything besides existing. It was other people. It was society who said, I don't like the way this looks. Why do you look like that? You should be skinnier. You should be more like this. No, wait, be more like that. And then the fucking trend changes every 2, 3, 5 years about how your eyebrows should look, about, no, you should do this and you should do that. And if you keep on chasing a fucking trend, you will never be fucking happy with yourself. And I don't give a fuck how many times I've said fuck this entire fucking podcast, fucking episode, because it is so crazy. It is so ridiculous to keep selling your soul to a society that will never fucking accept you because they don't fucking accept themselves. So why am I going to allow for these people to prey off of insecurities that they put there in the fucking first place? Tired of it. Tired of it. How do I combat that? I learn to love myself. How do you do that? Okay, maybe painting your nails makes you feel cute. Paint your nails. Put some money aside. Paint your fucking nails. Go get them done. Maybe having a facial makes you feel cute. Okay, go get a facial. Okay, going to your barber every 3 weeks makes you feel like that motherfucking boy. Okay, go to the barber every 3 weeks. Not for anybody else but yourself. What makes you feel good? Having your favorite perfume, right? Like having your favorite cologne, having multiple, that makes you feel good. Smell good. Go treat yourself. I'm so tired of people just like scrolling. Oh, I'm so insecure about my life. Nothing changes. And it's like, well, how is it going to change whenever you're just brainwashing yourself with more content that tells you that you're not good enough? How is something supposed to change when you don't change? Nothing changes if nothing changes. It makes something change. Like change has to happen for anyone to grow. We have to be thinking, guys. We have to be thinking. I feel like I've gone through so many changes recently, and I feel like I am more myself now than I have ever been. And it's so crazy to think that, you know, in so many phases of my life, I have always at some point loved myself. Like, I've been thinking a lot about the first person that I like really dated. We dated when I was like 17 years old. And it's so crazy to think that the version of me that he had was me at my lowest point, but at the highest of that lowest point, if that makes any sense. He was with the Gaby who was so extremely, at her very core, deep down, insecure, just didn't know who she was, very confused, just trying to learn, right? I mean, I'm only 17, right? Like, you don't know who the fuck you are. You're just trying to fit in, right? That's all you want as a teenager, is to fit in, to like be normal, right? And to think that he had that version of me where, yeah, I was insecure, but I was still outgoing. I still at my very core was extroverted and was silly and goofy, and still loved music and loved theater and art and all the things. And it was actually with him that I was inspired to start crocheting. So in a lot of ways, I do feel like he inspired me. You know, I made our first scrapbook for our first anniversary, and I just feel like he brought out this creative side to me that had always been there, but I guess, you know, had been a little bit dormant, because there's things that love just does, right? Love can create some of the most sad, heart-wrenching, or the most fun and vibrant albums of all time, right? Like life imitates art, right? And so it's important, like as humans, that's why we're always going to have these experiences that keep us evolving, because there's something that needs to be created out of it, right? That's alchemy. It's taking something and turning it into something else. And in The Alchemist, what he talks about is that, okay, so Santiago goes off on this journey, right? And so he eventually meets, if you don't want a spoiler, you just skip on, because this is going to spoil everything for you. So basically he goes on this journey, and, you know, he eventually like meets the alchemist, and, you know, he's like, well, what if I were, his journey, he feels his purpose is like to go to Egypt. And so he's going to Egypt, and he, you know, needs to, I think it's the desert that he needs to reach there. And he just thinks along this way, like he's going to find some treasure, and he just goes along all these like little side paths, right? Like there's so many side quests in life. However, there are these big parts of the journey that need to happen. And if you don't make your way through these, it's not that you're going to live a miserable life, because that's not to say that that's the case at all. Like, you can still live a very good life, but your life is not going to be extravagant, right? So say that my dream, like we're just gonna talk about Gaby, like Gaby at her core, you know, wants to be a musician, a singer-songwriter, and I want to have a discography of music for my whole life, right? By me doing that, that's me living at my fullest potential, right? That's me living my highest path in that journey. But even if I stop now, right? Say I stop now in terms of music. I just learned what I did at the piano. Maybe I finished learning the piano, but I don't necessarily ever put on an album. It's not to say that I still didn't live a good life or still live up a little bit of my purpose. It's just saying that I didn't live it up to its highest potential. So again, you're not going to live a bad life. It's just, is it going to be everything that you ever wanted? Are you going to be wondering, what if this happened? What if I would have done that? What if I would have talked to that person? What if I would have made this happen? What if I would have released this? And I just think it's just so important to just try, because I think we've just thrown away the idea of the art of trying, and trying is what gets you places, right? If I had never decided I'm going to release a podcast and then actually like released an episode, how many things just like stay as ideas? You don't even know how many fucking ideas are on my notes app. My notes app is probably full of, I mean, I know it's full of so many gems and cool things just about like my life and my ideologies and things I want to talk about and things I'm passionate about and random dreams that I've had and things that just inspire me. And like, I even have my hype me up list, which is positive things that people have told me that I just keep, that is just kind of a reminder of like, you know, people want to see you succeed. Like literally yesterday with, I keep saying yesterday, but it wasn't yesterday. A couple days ago, I was hanging out with the friend I've been talking about, and they were like, you know, Gaby, I'm really excited for you. You know, you have the voice. And, you know, we talk a lot about our dreams, and it's just so validating to hear that. And it's just been so cool to kind of watch myself take the compliments versus saying like, oh yeah, but you know, and I just need to do this or whatever. And it's like, yeah, I always know that there's more that could be done, but at the very least I am showing up. And so I ask myself a lot, like, am I showing up today? And what what does Gaby for today need? Am I pushing myself? Am I overexerting myself? Where can I, fill in the gap a little bit? And I try to remind myself of that. That's what I have to do, is fill in the gap, right? So how do I fill in the gap? That Gaby is, you gotta get up, bitch. Because I know after a certain point in time, if I don't get up and play the piano, I will put it off. I will put it off till the next day. So sometimes, because it's usually whenever the sun sets, because then I'll tell myself, oh, but the neighbors and people are sleeping. Even though I know damn well I could just plug in my headphones and not have to worry about anybody. I still don't. I know how I am. And it's important to know how you are, right? Because it's with that observation, with understanding how you are and how your brain works, that's whenever you're able to like stop yourself from things happening. If you know you oversleep, why are you not setting multiple alarms? If you know that you don't hear your alarm whenever you wake up, why are you not having it have haptics, like have it vibrate? Or, I don't know, just try to do something to like make things happen. And so you need to understand why your brain works the way it works and how can you use it to your advantage. If a physical calendar is what you need, a physical calendar is what you need. If you know that you don't put your laundry away, if you don't put it away immediately, you're not going to put it away till the next time you do laundry. Put your fucking laundry away. It's so important to catch yourself in these habits to where you kind of change that, I guess, habit, right? Like you have this habit of putting away your laundry forever versus you start just putting it away as soon as you do it, that's that new version of you, right? Like you're not the person anymore who just leaves the laundry there. You're now the person who puts away the laundry as soon as the laundry's done. So again, like you can rewrite who you are. It's just simply by deciding who do you want to be? How does that person show up? And I've done the things, right? Like I am now comfortable posting myself singing on social media. Like I don't think that that's like something that I'm struggling with anymore. But now the thing is like, okay, I feel like mentally ready to release my first single. For the most part, I already have like a good grasp of it all. It's just kind of like putting it all into action. I feel like I have the mindset and the mentality of it, but it's like, okay, now let's actually do the work. That's what a lot of it is, like manifestation is like, yes, you have to do the work, super important, but a lot of it too is the mindset. Because if you have the mindset of I'm going to start a business and it's never going to fucking work, what does it matter if you show up to these meetings if you in your head already don't think it's going to work? It's never going to fucking work because you have the mindset of it's not going to work. So then you're kind of like contradicting yourself with the actions that you're doing, because these actions aren't coming from a fulfilled person, of somebody who's like, wow, I'm actually making a difference. This is coming from somebody who is like, it's not possible. So then why the fuck are you training for something if you don't think it's possible? What's the point of you training for the Olympics if you don't think that you can even make the Olympic team? If you don't even believe in yourself, how is somebody else supposed to believe in you? And so I've just been really like realizing that of like, because a lot of my singing, sometimes I would just post it just to post it, or I'm like, oh, I don't like the way this sounds. And I really wasn't really feeling the music. And I've realized that whenever I feel the music and feel every note that I'm singing, that's whenever I'm the happiest. And that's whenever I'm, not in my head. And it's through that I've been able to see the most growth. But sometimes it was like, oh, I got to post just to post. And, you get in your head of like, oh, well, this is the logical way, right? There's this way and this is what we need to do. And it's like, it's not the logical way. Like if you actually look at a diagram of like how paths are created, it's like just because you take a path doesn't necessarily mean it's the fastest way to get there. If you take a reroute of what everybody else is doing, you might actually find your way up to the creek a lot faster. But you don't know that unless you go this way. And it is scary to walk a path that you've never walked, to walk a path that nobody in front of you has ever walked, nobody that you've ever known has ever walked. It's scary. It is so scary. But once you take those first steps, you just one after the other, step. And I feel like I took my baby steps. Okay, that's so cool. And I had people hold my hands. Okay, and then I started learning how to walk, right? It's like, okay, now we're walking at a faster pace, right? It's not these baby steps anymore, walking at a faster pace. Okay, now we can fucking run. We can sprint. If we hold this, we're running the marathon, right? We're finishing it. And I think that that's just something to note, is that you can finish the marathon if, one, you have the belief that you can, and two, you're willing to do the work to make it happen. And a lot of that is mental. It's just getting the fuck over yourself, getting over other people. What are people going to say? What are people going to think? And once I started to realize that, like, I don't need everybody to like me, and I really don't care if everybody likes me, because I'm not meant for everybody. And the people who do love me so much. So why does it matter if 10 people kind of like me when I have 3 people who love me and adore me? And that's what I want, right? I want for people who really, really love and resonate with who I am as a person and resonate with my music and my voice and what I have to offer the world. I want those people to stay. And so you focus more, again, thinking about this a lot. I don't have to ask myself, is your glass half empty or half full? Bitch, my glass is just full. Why would it be half full? It's full. Point blank, period. My glass is full. It's full. I'm not thinking, oh, they don't like me. And I caught myself like that recently. Well, oh my God, well, what did I do? You know, is it my fault or whatever? And it's like, why am I making myself small again? I spent so much time allowing for myself to take up space, and I'm so over like trying to make myself small and digestible. I remember being told I was too much a lot. And I've been thinking a lot recently about how in school, my parents don't remember this, but in school, whenever we'd have like the parent teacher conferences, or like your parents go to school, whatever, the teachers would pull my parents to the side and like, Gabby's a great student, but she's very distracting. Like she passes notes and she talks a lot and she's just a distraction to people. And my parents don't remember those conversations, but I do. And I mean, yeah, should I be passing notes in school? No, but like also like, why school gotta be boring? You know what I'm saying? Like if I was in art classes, maybe that, you know, side would have been nurtured a little bit more, which I really didn't take art classes. And that's something that I'm doing now to stop myself from schooling, is to practice more art. So I got myself an art book, and so I've been practicing more art to be able to just keep myself from scrolling. And so I'm trying to just figure out the ways to nurture my heart and my soul, even whenever I'm like, I don't have the energy in me to work on music, or like sometimes I'll be playing the piano for so long that I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm starting to just mess up, like all the keys get like blurry. And I don't put on timers. I have before, but it's enough to where I'm like, okay, I did it and I don't want to get frustrated. So I kind of like just allow it for it to be fun, because once things start to lose the fun in them, like they become work. And then that's whenever I feel like you kind of lose the magic in everything that you're doing. So yeah, every so often I'll push myself to finish a drawing because I'm like, I'm fucking tired of this and I just want this to be done and over with. But I also remind myself that drawing isn't the medium that I, you know, am trying to create a career off of. Drawing is just a hobby of mine. And so it's important to understand, like, are things hobbies of yours and you want to be good at them, versus is this something that you want to be exceptional, something great at, something incredible at? And obviously with time, like I'll develop those art skills and maybe I will be an incredible artist. And I don't think I'm terrible, but you know, I definitely have seen my improvement with just like having some patience. But I also think it's important to just try. It's okay that I'm not an incredible artist, and it's not, again, like a medium that I'm like, oh my God, I really want to be, you know, the next Picasso or, you know, whatever, Michelangelo. I'm just simply doing it so that way I can nurture a side of me that I very much so enjoy and I would like to improve at, but I don't have this like attachment of like, this is it, right? At least like when it comes to music, that's one of the things where it's like, this is it. Like music, and I would say like just anything regarding the voice, I've come to realize is what I feel like a lot of my purpose is around. For example, like the podcast, using my voice, standing up for things that I believe in, that's your voice, right? My writing, my voice, you know, singing, my voice, and voice acting, my voice, right? These are all very, quite literally, I've started to realize things that are simply just surrounding my literal voice, slash also like intellectual, you know, voice, right? So in this book about, you know, quantum physics and money, right? They talk a lot about, I mean, the notes I've taken on it are incredible. It's like insane. In it, they talk about how like whenever you find your purpose, it is in that purpose that you basically have an infinite amount of money. And the reason why is because that's whenever you're the most tapped into source, tapped into God, tapped into Gaia, tapped into whoever it is that you believe in. And it's kind of like God gives you like, hey, this is what you're meant to do. You do this and like you have infinite supplies of whatever you need. And obviously everybody's inherently worthy of anything at any given moment in their life if you just decide that you are. But it's like almost like a secret code, right? A little like a little glitch in the matrix if you're able to figure out what your purpose is and just aligning yourself into it. And it's just kind of like, that's where it's like, oh, you get whatever you want. Why? Because you're following what it is that you're put on this earth to do. In this book, they talk about how it's always something that you're just naturally good at. It's not to say it's not something you're not going to have to work on or improve at, right? We're not going to just say that you're just born incredibly talented, because, you know, in a lot of ways, like, people have natural talents, but we're able to hone in on these skills through experience, through collaboration, through learning, you know, about the craft. But, you know, maybe you just love carpentry. You just love carpentry. Carpentry is whenever time is able to just fly by. That just reminded me of something that, like, my dad actually recently shared to me, a dream of his, and I had never heard him share that ever, and I never expected for him to say something like this is what his dream is. And I pray that he gives himself permission to follow this dream. Oh, that just hit me. So these are things that you're, like, naturally good at, right? For some people, it could be like public speaking. They're just really great at public speaking, and maybe they want to be a publicist, or maybe somebody is just really good at gardening, and that's just what they feel like their purpose is. And maybe it looks different than what some people think, because, like, you know, things don't always have to be like you own the business, right? It can look like that, but it doesn't have to be, right? It can look like, oh, you know, your family is a farmers and you love growing carrots, and so you get to be in charge of things for carrot season, and you happen to decide that you want to have a carrot festival, and the carrot festival is like the legacy that you leave behind in your tiny town, and everybody goes there so that way they can have the carrot cake, because apparently it's where the best carrot cake has ever been made, and it's because you love carrots so much that you put so much time into it, and you just so happen to fall in love with somebody who's a baker, and then that baker and you put your love together, and their love for baking and your love for carrots came together and made this fantastic bomb-ass carrot cake, because you aligned with your purpose and your partner more than likely aligned with their purpose, and then you put your purposes together, and then you have this incredible journey, right? This incredible path. And I just think I've just been able to just allow the world to just give more to me lately, and it's been so beautiful. I was at the lake recently, and I was just sitting there waiting for my friend Christian to come, and I don't know where this guy comes out of nowhere. I'm literally stretching, journaling, drawing, doing everything that I can to pass time and to just, like, enjoy myself and not be on my phone. And this guy comes up to me and he goes, "Are you here alone?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm actually waiting on a friend." And he's like, "Oh, I brought watermelon if you want to just sit and share some while, you know, you wait for him." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And so we sat there, we ate watermelon. Christian came up, we all three hung out, ate watermelon. He happened to have more watermelon for him too. And eventually the guy leaves and he asked me on a date. And I ended up going on a date with him the following day, and it only being one date, but it was still a really nice date. And then I signed up for a blind pottery date that I saw on TikTok, right? I'm on TikTok, and they're like, "Oh, try pottery class and you can go on a blind date," whatever. And I sign up for it, and I go on a blind pottery date. And then I totally forgot that I had given this guy my number. I happened to meet him at work, and he played tennis. And I was like, "Yeah, like, I played tennis one season in high school. Like, I'd love to play." And we hadn't talked to him since that one conversation that we had, probably sometime in February. It definitely was the winter time. I remember talking about how cold it was and playing, you know, in the winter and, like, whatever. And he's like, "Oh yeah, watch whenever it warms up, the courts, whatever." He's like, "I'll text you." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." Hadn't talked to this person in months. And I don't know where I get a text. "Hey, I don't know if you remember me. Do you want to play tennis?" I said, "Sure." And then I went to go play tennis. And it's like, how often are we depriving ourselves of just these fun things that, like, life gets to have? Like, you know, in a movie, like the bonus scenes, right? Like in the ending credits, like, you get to have a little bit more if you just stay a little longer, or if you have a conversation, or if you, I don't know, like, take a different bus route. Like, if you don't switch things up or just, like, try to lean into life, you're just gonna kind of have, again, like, the same result. Like, it's not to say you won't have a decently fun life, but it's like, how cool is it that I have, like, these random ass fun stories to share simply because I just, like, leaned in. Yeah, you want to have watermelon, like, with a stranger? Okay, sure. You know, it's like, I didn't realize how much I was holding myself back from things simply because I lived a life in fear. I remember moving into the city of Chicago, and my family was like, "Oh my God, don't leave your house, Chirac, it's so dangerous, la la la." And I really did live in fear. Like, I literally would, like, only walk around, like, the block, and I would just try to get some steps in. And I remember I'd be so paranoid, like, looking over my shoulder and, like, sweating, and I'm like, "Oh my God," and I got my woman alone, and I have my pepper spray, and I'm like, I'm so scared. And now it's so crazy that I've just, like, let myself just, like, live calmly, and it's where I've been able to like really see that there's actually a lot of really good people out there in the world. I am just trying to lean into that more of just like people are inherently good, actually. Obviously, I'm not naive to there being bad people in the world or on the planet, but for the most part, people are really good and they're really kind. And I just feel like the world opens up. Just allow for it to. It's okay to try. It's okay to fail. And in this book, they talk about it. Failures don't actually exist. Failures are simply lessons, right? So it's like, oh, you're going to take an L. It's like, yeah, it's a lesson that I'm learning. So a failure is never really a failure if it's a success, if you learn from it. So it's important to understand that reframe, right? That perspective of I'm only going to learn something from this. It's never a failure if I learn something. So keep learning, keep trying. If it makes you feel any better, keep on failing, I guess. If that's what you'd rather hear. But yeah, step into yourself. It's okay. I give you permission to. And I'm so proud of you. You get to decide what you make out of your life. And I want for you to live the incredible life that you know that you deserve. And I'm going to be here living my incredible life that I know that I deserve. And I'm really grateful that our lives crossed paths. And I'll be checking in on here more often because I don't think I have given myself enough credit when it comes to this podcast. And it's so crazy to think of how many people across the globe have been able to come into contact with our community and, you know, with me through this. Internet's a really cool place if you allow for it to be. And step away from the internet whenever it's starting to control your mind. Use things to your advantage. And I pray that you have a wonderful day. Please drink some water. This was a lot of information and a lot of things to be thrown at you. And I'm just going to unwind. And I am just so grateful for today. I keep looking outside the window because it is stunning outside. Have a beautiful day. I love you. Bye.